get a taste of F-35 stealth fighter as it joins US, Australia, and Japan for Quad duel. No mention of China means we did not discuss any country like China. Silence can often yield more power than words. It can be a very good tactic to convey the message more powerfully than even any formal announcement. Australia, India, Japan, and United States of America seems to be participating or practicing this by not mentioning the China factor as one of the rationale for the ongoing 27th edition of Malabar exercise off the Sydney coast. The four nation exercise began on August 11 and will conclude on 11 August 21. It means that Australia is hosting it for the first time. Vice Admiral Carl Thomas, commander of the US Navy 7th Fleet, said at a news conference on August 10 in Sydney that the exercise was not pointed toward any one country and would improve the ability of the four forces to work with one another for their liabilities with faithfully. The deterrence that our four nations provide as we operate together as a quad is a foundation for all the other nations operating in this region, he added. According to Vice Admiral Dinesh Tripathi of the Indian Navy, who is leading the Indian contingent, the four nations, the four democracies can work together in the maritime domain and that can send some signals around the world, Tripathi said. The Indo Pacific is very important to us, said the Australian Fleet Commander Rear Admiral Christopher Smith, adding, we understand people have the ambition to continue to grow and develop, but it's about transparency. As can be seen, China was not mentioned by any of the participating admirals, and some argue that this could be international, with India hosting the G20 summit in New Delhi, September 9 to 10, where all the heads of the governments, including President Xi Jinping, are expected to meet. Besides, Modi is also to come across Xi in South Africa during 15th BRIC Summit, Brazil, Russia, India, China, on August 22 to 24 at Johannesburg. Here, the theory is that the possible meeting of the leaders from Australia, India, Japan, and US with a Z at the Z20 summit. The Modi and Xi Jinping parallels in the South Africa have necessitated in the lowering the tenure of anti-China rhetoric. This also explains, it is said that why India could not keep the Australian invitation to participate in the Talisman Sabre military drill, which was hosted by Australia from July 22 to August 4, involving 34,000 military personnel from 30 nations, including Australia, Japan, Canada, France, Germany, and United States of America, and the United Kingdom also. This multilateral exercise involved forces across the sea, land, air, cyber, and space. So, however, such a theory does not explain why Quad did not postpone the Malabar exercise to invite or elicit appreciation from Xi Jinping, a known critic of the deal. On the contrary, the intensity of the nature and the range of exercise this time is said to be at a higher level compared to its previous editions. Malabar 2023 is being conducted in two phases. Number one phase is the harbor phase. In this phase involves wide-ranging activities such as cross-deck visit, professional exchanges, sports fixtures, and several interactions for planning and conduct of the sea phase. The second one is sea phase. In sea phase, includes various complex and high intensity exercises in all three domains of warfare, like encompassing anti surface, anti air, and anti submarine exercises, including live weapon firing drills. According to the Indian Navy, the exercise provides it an opportunity to enhance, demonstrate in interoperability, interoperability, and also gain from the best practices in the maritime security operations from its partner nation. It has sent to exercise INS Shaidri, the third ship of the indigenously designed and built Project 7 or a 17 class multi-role stealth fight frigates and INS Kolkata, the first ship of the indigenously designed and built Project 15A class destroyer. Both ships have been built at Mazagon Dock Limited, Mumbai, and are fitted with a state of the art array of weapons and sensors to detect the neutralize threats in surface, air, and underwater domain. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Forces like JMSDF has deployed destroyer JS Shiranui DD 120, part of the first surface unit of the JMSDF's Indo Pacific Deployment 2023 IPD 23 mission, along with a special boarding unit of the JMSDF. The US deploying destroyer USS Rafael Peralta DDZ 115 Fleet Oiler USNS Rafa Hanok TAO 2204 and a submarine P8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol Aircraft MPA and Special Operations Forces. Ships from the four nations are being joined by Australian F-35 fighter jets, P-8 surveillance aircraft, submarines, HMAS Brisbane's Hobart class guided missile destroyer has joined the HMAS Charles, a helicopter, the landing craft ship, and can carry up to 700 troops from Australia. In fact, the most important feature of this edition of the Malabar is that a fifth generation aircraft F-35 is appearing for the first time. It may be noted that both the Indian and Japanese JMSDF stopped at the Pacific Island states of uh, Solomon Island and other islands like Papua
New Guinea.
Australia for the exercise, and this was significant according to the Admiral Thomas. The deterrence that our four nations provide as we operate together as a quad is a foundation for all other nations operating in this region. Oceania, the island nation that are just northeast of Australia, all of our nation now are focusing on those countries, Thomas has said. As it is, though China has not been named, it was obvious that it was China that was in his mind when Admiral Thomas told the news persons or news spokespersons on the eve of the Malabar exercise at Sydney how he had just visited Philippines, where last week a Chinese Coast Guard vessel aimed a water cannon at a small Philippine boat carrying supply to an outpost in the South China Sea. There is no countries that more aware of the challenges being faced right now in the South China Sea than the Philippines. We sail quite regularly in the South China Sea, as does every one of the nations standing here today. Thomas said, adding, being out there is to, or there are to be able to try to maintain some peace, some stability in that area is important to challenge calm that maybe are not, that are in a violation or certainly don't fall in line with a United Nations Commission law of the sea. So you have to have to be there to test those excessive claims. Excessive means more claims. You have to do what the US Navy does, which is freedom of navigation. Oops, to contest those excessive claims. It may be noted that Beijing has refused to accept the UN law of the seas tribunal, ruling that China has no legal claim to the South China Sea and has persistently threatened the sometimes attacked the Philippines ship and other nationals operating in what it claims as its waters. Even India foreign officer has expressed concerns over the latest Chinese actions against the Philippines. We have always felt that the issue need to be resolved, disputes peacefully and rule-based order, and we would certainly urge parties to follow that as well as ensure that such incidents do not happen in future. Such South Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Arindam Bagchi on August 11, we have also underlined the need for a peaceful settlement of disputes, he added. In June this year, while reiterating the call for a free, open, and inclusive Indo Pacific, India for the first time joined the Philippines in asking China to abide by the 2016 legally binding ruling that strongly refuted China's expensive claims in its dispute with the Southeast Asia country over South China Sea waters. Against this background, it is significant that Admiral Thomas has highlighted that Malabar gives us the capability and that tactical interoperability to be able to go up there and sail confidently to ensure that a body of water, the South China Sea, which is close to the tremendous amount of trade, stayed free. In fact, interoperability is a cardinal feature of the Malabar exercise. It enhances synergy, coordination, along with interoperability among the whole Quad navies. Various editions of the exercise highlights the convergence of the view among the participating countries on maritime issue and their shared commitment to an open, inclusive Indo-Pacific and rules-based international order. Vice Admiral Anup Singh, retired of the Indian Navy, argued that perspective the Indian Navy has long had a clear vision on trading the gainful path of the maritime diplomacy with friendly maritime nation. A core requirement in this strategy is understanding each other best practices at sea to the strengthen interoperability interoperability. This is why we do bilateral and even multilateral exercises. These drills have become a foundation for mutual understanding and combined operations in time of necessity. They serve to hone skill, develop mutual confidence, and create an environment to counter the flow of threat and challenges encountered at a sea through inclusive and cooperative efforts. Equally important is the aim of engaging other navies in a positive manner and reinforcing the perception of the Indian Navy as a competent, confident, stabilizing force in the region. The Malabar exercise seemed to the strengthen the bond among the four Quad countries. Even addition has been an occasion to improve intercoordination and interoperability of their respective tactical operational skill in an entirely different operational environment. Participants become aware of each other's platforms, weapons, and their effective ranges. They understand each other's drills and procedures while overcoming language barriers. All this happen or help when they undertake joint steps against a common enemy or join hands in operations like humanitarian aid, disaster relief, anti piracy, etc. Above all, the Malabar naval exercise by the navies of India, the US, Japan, and Australia, the Indo Pacific provide strategic signaling to a third country or a group of countries, usually the potential rival. No wonder why China thinks negatively of them. And the signaling here is obviously to China, which is seen to be a challenger to the very idea of free open access to the great blue water domain of the Indo Pacific. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.